full build breakdown of the DriftCar 6-speed manual Hellcat Charger, 1,000 horsepower. Hello, I'm Jensen. What's going on, guys? So a lot of people have been asking me to do a build breakdown on the new 6-speed swap 1,000 horsepower DriftCar. So let's get to it. Come on. So let's just start off from the basics. This is a 2016 Dodge Charger Hellcat. Obviously came from the factory, 707 horsepower. It came with a 8-speed automatic, which is now changed, and pretty much everything on the car has been changed from factory. It's almost nothing on this car is factory besides like the frame and body panels and doors and stuff and interior, but for the most part this thing is completely custom now, one of one build, and that's because of the parts that I have on it, not just because it's a 6-speed swap. I know there's other 6-speed swaps out there. One of my homies in Kansas City has one that's almost identical to this one. It's its twin, just I use different parts, he used different parts. So both of ours are one of one because there's only one of each other's builds out there. Let's get right into it. Let's go ahead and pop the hood for you guys. Come on. Let's start off under the hood. First off, we have a 275 upper pulley. I'm not running a tensioner because we have this set up so there's a little bit of belt slip when I get on and off the gas. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. When I'm really getting on it, you'll hear a little belt squeak. That's because, one, we're not running a grippy pulley, so it'll have a little bit of slide on the pulley, and no tensioner, so there's not super amount of tension on the belt, so it won't shred the belt or throw the belt, and that's something you definitely don't want to have happen if you're in the middle of nowhere, or if you're at an event somewhere and you only have one belt and you drove this car there, which I drive this car to pretty much every event I go to. Looking to get a truck and trailer very soon so I don't have to, but yeah, for the most part that pulley and belt setup is the reason that I don't really go through belts like that. I just have to change them every so often because it'll wear it down a little bit, slipping and sliding like that. Next off, we got a JLT 3.0 catch can. If you don't have an oil catch can, all that oil blow by will be going into your intake and into your motor, which is not good at all. Next up, we got a leg maker carbon fiber intake. The first thing that I did, because I wanted more whine and I guess it adds a couple horsepower or whatever, 1200cc fuel injector clinic injectors, and that's because we are running E85 and the 1200cc injectors are paired with a booster pump. Don't have a dual pump setup. I should, to be honest, at this power level. And before we move on and close the hood, I might as well show you guys the whine from up front. So as you guys can hear, with the 275 upper pulley, the leg maker intake, she's got some pretty good whine, some pretty decent whine. And then it's pretty hard to see, but I do have an upgraded cooling system from forced inductions, and that is the inner chiller. Can't really see it. You can, can't really see it at all, but it's behind this bumper right here. So funny thing is, when you run a inner chiller, you have to trim out the inside of this bumper structure. So have a FI inner chiller, which is really useful. It's pretty cool and it works really well. It'll drop the intercooler temperatures to like 20 something degrees, which is really cold. The AC lines will get all frosted over right here. You'll be able to see them all all frosty and stuff, a bunch of condensation and ice on them. And that's because it uses the AC to chill the intercooler, which is kind of like the new Chargers and new Hellcat. They have the chiller built in, and it's kind of the same thing, but this works a whole lot better and cools it down a lot faster. Really hard to see, but that's one thing that I did for cooling, because when you're dogging these cars and you're doing hot laps and hitting rev limiter and stuff, it's pretty mandatory to have a little upgraded cooling system. These things get hot. So that's pretty much what's going on under the hood. Not too much anything else going on. I don't have a ported supercharger, ported snout. I used to when I did the Hoonigan race back in the day. I had ported snout, ported supercharger with race bearings and a bunch of stuff, but that's back in the day. Now, pretty much stock besides the upper pulley, injectors, and things like that. No motor work done whatsoever, which is pretty cool. These damn Hellcat motors push out a lot of power reliably. Let's move on to the suspension. As you guys know, these cars come with active dampening suspension, and it works really well, not gonna lie. You could change the suspension modes from street to race to track, and the dampening increases as you go up per level. So when you're in street, it's super plush Cadillac feel, you know, it's got the luxury feel. And then when you put it in track mode, it's almost like coilover feel. But that wasn't enough, and I had to upgrade to coilovers. So I went with BC Racing coilovers, and I love them. It's got 16 clicks of adjustment, so you can go super soft, or you can turn them all the way hard, pause, no diddy, and go all the way 16 plus, and they'll be stiff as can be. Pause once again. And they're super easy to adjust. As you can see on the top of the strut, it's left for soft, right for hard, and that's on both sides. This one's a little bit easier to get to. The other one is under the supercharger coolant tank, but that's like one 10mm bolt, and you can get that out of the way. The rear ones are a little bit harder to get to. You got to go into the trunk and pull a couple panels off, but they're just as easy, you know, left, right, soft, hard. I really like going BC Racing coilovers. There's a lot of other options like K&W and stuff like that, but these, for the price, I think they were like 16 or 1800 bucks. I've ran these for probably 2 years now, had zero issues. Shout out to BC Racing. Besides that, pretty hard to see, there's some B Woody arms under there. The B Woody arms have like the poly ends, so you can fill them with grease. There's pretty much no noise whatsoever when you have them greased up, and I like those a lot better than the rod ends. The rod ends are definitely better for like racetrack use, but when you're driving on the road and you hate your car making sounds every time you hit a bump, the poly ends and grease fittings are really nice. So shout out to B Woody on the adjustable arms. I have a few arms in the front, few arms in the back from B Woody. But up top, I have some AAD adjustable upper control arms, and that honestly helped a ton with my drift alignment, because I'm running a specific alignment, so I have more grip in the front. Right now, I think I'm running -2.5 degrees camber in the front, and that's because when the wheels are turned and the weight's all the way on one side or the other, I'll have the maximum amount of traction on the front wheels. And when you're drifting and sliding and all that stuff, you want the most traction possible in the front and the least in the rear, kind of. Well, you want grip in the rear too, but mainly super important to have grip up front, and I was able to achieve that with the AAD adjustable upper control arms. All their arms are pricey, but they're all billet aluminum, super high quality, so shout out to AAD. Hopefully very soon they're going to be coming out with an angle kit for these things. No one makes angle kits. A lot of people ask me if I have an angle kit on this car, and no, I just have the upper adjustable control arms, couple lower adjustable control arms from B Woody, but no angle kit, not yet. Very soon, hopefully. So that's pretty much the suspension. Got coilovers, upper arms, some lower arms. Moving on to the brakes. These are Demon Performance front brake rotors, and these save like, I forgot how much rotational mass, but they're a lot lighter than the stock brake rotors. And I'm running PowerStop Z28 brake pads, because stock Brembo brake pads are the dustiest pads I've ever had an encounter with. So change those out, changed up the front brake rotors, leaves your wheels a lot less dusty. Still have the stock brake rotors in the rear, but like I said, did the Power Stop Z28 brake pads. So that's pretty much the suspension up front. Let's move to the suspension in the rear. And I'm not sure if you guys are gonna be able to see this either, but definitely have some adjustable arms in the rear. And those are from B Woody. Like I said, B Woody has really nice arms. AAD has a little bit higher quality, but you're definitely going to pay for them. So the bang for your buck, B Woody is really awesome, but AAD has that quality for sure. Like I said, they're all billet aluminum. A lot of them are adjustable as well. So that's pretty much all the suspension in the rear. Obviously, the BC Racings are in all four corners. Definitely need some new wheel wells. They're a little caked up and they're a little destroyed from popping tires and stuff, but don't pay attention to that right now. And then for my exhaust setup, I have full straight pipe. Still has cats and mufflers and resonators and all that stuff, but full straight pipe, and it has carbon race bullets in there, which is kind of like a race bullet muffler, and it sounds really nice. Paired all that up with some beautiful carbon 5-inch tips. These are the black chrome option, and I really like these over just the normal satin black. I was thinking of getting them powder coated in a bronze color to match the wheels, but I'm not sure because we might be throwing on some new wheels here very soon. But let me show you guys what this exhaust sounds like, because it sounds really good. So what do you guys think? Does the exhaust setup sound good? I think so personally. Anyway, let's get back to the modifications. So since we're already towards the back of the car, let's start from under the car and then go back to the front. So we did the manual swap. I put the 370 differential in there, which came from the factory manual Challenger cars, and I did that just based on having a 309 before. I figured it would be a lot better of a gear ratio just because it's a 6-speed now, and we lost two gears in the transmission, obviously going from an 8-speed auto to the 6-speed manual. So that's why I did the 370 differential, paired that up with the DIRS diff brace, which is a DIRS diff brace. Really recommend that if you're looking to kind of sturdy up and stabilize your rear end. Pause. Definitely get a diff brace back there because it makes a world of a difference. And then going from the diff to the middle of the car, we have a custom 4-inch aluminum drive shaft from Drive Shaft Pro down in SoCal. Super cool guys. They made it in I think a day or two and had it overnighted, so huge shout out to them. I love their products. It's a really high quality drive shaft, so if you're looking to get a custom one made, whether it's steel or aluminum, you need any type of diameter, like I said, I went with the 4-inch. They can do it for you, and they could do it quick. So we went over the diff, went over the drive shaft. Now let's talk about the transmission in here. So the stock manual Hellcat Challengers come with a TR6060 6-speed, and that's the transmission that I put into the car. The differential I put in was used, but the transmission is freshly rebuilt by my guy Blackbird Transmissions over in Richmond, California. Huge shout out to him. If you have a T56 or a TR6060 that needs rebuilt, or if you're just looking for a transmission, make sure you hit him up. Super high quality rebuild, so that's why I went with him. Plus I've known Bro since I was a little kid, so shout out to him on that. And then moving up from the transmission, we have a QuickTime bell housing, and that's because it's SFI approved. The clutch company that I went with highly recommended it, because if one day I'm kicking clutch and that clutch goes and parts decide to go everywhere, that bell housing will save my legs. Nothing will come up from under the car unless it's like the drive shaft or something, but that's not gonna happen because it's a Drive Shaft Pro drive shaft. So with that being said, I worked with Mantic Clutch USA on this build, and they hooked me up with a triple disc clutch, aluminum flywheel, beautiful clutch, super high quality. Jeff over at Mantic, super cool dude. Huge shout out to those guys. Thank you very much for helping me with this build, because that is a beautiful, beautiful clutch. So with the manual swap, the parts that we swapped over is the differential with the 370 gears. Had to get a custom made drive shaft because the TR6060 is a different size than the HP 90s that these originally come with. I honestly forgot the measurements, but we either had to get it longer or shorter than the regular drive shaft, so that's why we had to do a custom one. And honestly, that 4-inch aluminum drive shaft just looks way better than the 2-piece drive shafts that these cars come with. So when you look under the car, it's a lot more pleasing, and it's not just like, okay, it's a stock drive shaft. Some people that I've talked to that have done the manual swap, they have used the front of a manual Challenger drive shaft and then the rear of a automatic Charger drive shaft, and they kind of just made the two, and it works for some people, but I didn't really want to do that and have to go through building a drive shaft, so I just got one custom built. So we did the 370 gears, the custom drive shaft, TR6060, the QuickTime bell housing, Mantic triple disc clutch, and we had to throw a pilot bearing in there. And then doing a bunch of research before I did the swap, I heard a lot of complaints of the stock Challenger manual shifter. So we went with the Barton short shifter, which is a beautiful setup, all billet aluminum, a bunch of adjustability. You get that beautiful 6-speed, you know, ball up there, shift knob. I need to get a shift boot made. As you can see, I did some customization with the stock Charger bezel, but need to get a shift boot made. I really want to find someone to do a black leather with red stitching to match the seat belts. I think that'll set this off and make it look beautiful. And then while we're here, we might as well talk about it. Still have the stock auto steering wheel. Need to get rid of this because don't need paddle shifters anymore. They don't do anything anymore. So I want to get a carbon wheel. Not sure what company to go with because there's a lot of companies that make them, but I want to make sure it's safe in case I'm ever in a crash. I don't need it breaking apart in my hands or something like that. So doing some research on that. For the interior, that's pretty much what we got going on. Barton short shifter, really recommend. Go through some gears for you guys real fast. It's super short, super precise, and I just love it because the stock Challenger shifter is super sloppy. You can miss gears and stuff like that. So highly recommended Barton short throw shifter. And then when we go down, we did obviously have to put in a third pedal, and they came with these really nice pedal covers. Don't have one for the gas pedal yet, but I need to change these out for new ones anyway because they're a little bit worn. For the 3-pedal setup, that's what it looks like right now. It works, and I really like this look over the stock, you know, Charger pedal look. So definitely gonna have to upgrade all 3 of these again, get some brand new ones because I really like these. But that's pretty much everything in the interior. And to have been able to do the manual swap, we had to reprogram a couple modules, reprogram the BCM, get a brand new RFH, because every single module has to have the same VIN coded. If they are not, then none of them will communicate with each other, which is why we had a huge issue with the car starting at first, is because one, the BCM we did not know needed to be reprogrammed at first, so it was running the auto coding and all that stuff, so needed to get that reprogrammed. We needed the PCM or ECU to get the OS systems changed to manual, and then we bought a brand new RFH from a manual Challenger car, so all of them will communicate. They all have the same VIN coded, which is obviously my VIN number, and all that told it that it's a manual now. Obviously had to repin a bunch of wires and stuff. Still have to repin a couple more wires, but she runs, drives, it's a dream. 6-speed manual Hellcat Charger, 1,000 horsepower. It doesn't get better than that. So that is pretty much the build. If you guys are wondering what the color is, that is a matte Java brown. Really love this color. It's super dirty right now. extremely dirty, to be honest, but really like this color. For the stripe, as a lot of Charger guys know, that's like the Daytona style stripe, but we threw the Hello on there because obviously 101, and that's my brand, so gotta represent. And then for the calipers, we painted them in white, and then on the very face of it, we did a reflective vinyl, so at nighttime you can kind of see it in the daylight too, they almost glow. Same thing as all the emblems in the front, the sides, we did the stripe and reflective vinyl as well, and the rear emblems, so it all ties in together. And of course, these are the stock brass monkey wheels that come from the factory. Going to be changing these out very soon, as well as changing this wrap up. There's a lot of people after this build was finished, they're like, it's time for a new look, and I completely agree. So new wheels are coming, sticking with this color, but we're gonna change it up drastically. There's gonna be a whole new look coming for this car. Before we move on from the wheels, let's talk about tires real quick. In the front, I always like to run sticky front tires, not obviously radials or anything like that, but always make sure you have a very good front tire, heat soaked. So might need to change these out really soon, because once they get heat soaked, they get hard and and they start to slip and slide around. You want the most amount of traction possible. That's why you do camber in the front, and make sure you got some stickies so you have the most amount of traction in the front. Right now I'm running some Falcons. I really like these tires, so might end up getting a new set of those. In the rear, whatever, these Decentes, I like these as burners. They're pretty good. They don't delaminate, and they don't like explode immediately. They'll go down all the way till there's no more tread, and I really like that. When you're dogging it, you don't have to worry about the whole tire coming apart before they're finished. Tire pressure wise, usually run about like 35 to 38 in the front. 38's a little high. Obviously when you start doing laps and stuff, they'll heat up and the tire pressure will rise, so normally keep them around 36 in the front. For the rears, might drop them down depending on the track and the environment and all that. Obviously the less tire pressure you have, the more grippy it'll be to a certain point. The higher pressure you have, the less grippy and less traction that you'll have. So it really just all depends on the surface you're drifting on or whatever, but usually keep these at around, like the fronts, around 36. If I need to, I'll pump them up to 40, but like I said, once you do a couple laps, they'll heat up and the tire pressure will rise, so you always got to keep that in mind. And for the final numbers, I'm sure you guys are wondering, I would really like to get this thing on the scale and figure out how much it weighs, if we dropped any weight doing the manual swap or if we gained weight doing the manual swap. It honestly feels a lot meaner, a lot more responsive after we did the manual swap, because the aluminum flywheel and the drive shaft and just a lot less rotational mass, and I'm pretty sure we dropped a few pounds. But for the final numbers, the last time this thing was dynoed, it made 923 to the wheels, 924 to the wheels, so it makes over 1,000 horsepower to the crank, which is a monster, not gonna lie. It's a monster. It's super fun. But that is the DriftCat for you guys. Full build breakdown. This car has been through it. If you followed since the beginning, there's been a bunch of wraps on this car, a bunch of different modifications, went through a lot of different parts, but she's still here. I will always keep this car. This car is like a child to me. Like I said, bought it in 2017. It's 2024, so had it a long time. It's got 96,000 miles on the body, but pretty much everything else is brand new. And if you're one of the OG followers, you know how much this car's been through and how much this thing means to me. A lot of people see this as just a car, but it's been through so much. It's taught me so much that it's like I can never get rid of this thing, you know? It's taught me what not to do and showed me like what I can achieve with just a vehicle. It's not really just a vehicle, it's my baby. But anyway, that's the full build breakdown of the DriftCat for you guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, hit the bell, thumbs up, all that stuff. Hopefully we can get at least 1,000 likes on this video. Share it with your friends, share it with your homies. If you're looking to build one of these Hellcats for drifting or sliding in general, there's a lot of great tips in this video of how to set up this thing. So thank you once again. I'll see you guys in the next video. Doses.